All right, Bubba, start cleaning those tires up. Don't green this time. Remember, they fan out down there, so protect that bottom. Sunday drive. All right, boss man. Hey, car's off. Be ready. Bub, be ready. Gas that bitch up. Ready. Green flag. Green.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Inside Pass. I am Randy Miller. Tom Baker is normally sitting in the Silman seat, but the chair is empty right now because he's on his way to the studio, so hopefully he'll be here within the next few minutes to kick off our show. We've got a good show on tap for everyone. Today we're going to talk about the Daytona Road Course race, one of the races on the schedule where we were all excited about them running that course for the very first time. And so we will break down what happened with all of the divisions of racing that happened over the weekend. We're also going to be joined by our guest today, which I'm excited about, Steve Arpin. Longtime racing fans probably remember when Arpin used to run ARCA Series for Venturini Motorsports. He's done some Truck Series racing with Turner Motorsports. The last 3 or 4 years, he's actually done some Rallycross racing. He was actually a X Games Olympian as well, representing his home country of Canada. So the last several years have been kind of a tumultuous environment for the Rallycross drivers as they've been trying to get their feet wet on American soil, and hasn't been going so very well for them. But they're picking up some steam, and they're trying to do some things to bring Rallycross racing back to the United States. So we'll talk to him about that. A lot of good things on the horizon. And there's also that rumor out there that he may have an opportunity to run in the SRX series that Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham have started. So hopefully we'll get some inside intel on that as well. We're going to talk about silly season as well. There's been a lot more rumors that have been had fuel thrown into them over the last few weeks involving the likes of Denny Hamlin and the RCR situation with the Xfinity Series car. That Kaz Grala has been, I think he was the most recent guy to be in that car, but of course everybody saw on Sunday what he did in the Daytona Road Course, filling in for Austin Dillon and leading some laps toward the end of the race, ended up finishing in the top 10. And I think he turned a lot of heads during that Sunday race. So we'll talk to Tom a little bit about what he thinks. He's a big Kaz Grala fan and knows Kaz really well. So I know that he's going to have a lot to say on that subject as well. And, of course, more rumors involving Eric Jones, the new Spire team, the secondary team that they bought from LFR, and more on silly season, which we'll have a little bit later on too. Also coming up, we are going to break down the current throwback paint schemes that have been announced for the Darlington Throwback Weekend, the Southern 500 coming up in a few weeks, Labor Day weekend, as a matter of fact. Lots of paint schemes that have been unveiled, a lot of really cool paint schemes, and then today Jimmy Johnson unveiled his paint scheme, which I have yet to see personally, but I did hear that they unveiled it. It is a kind of a tribute to Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt with the 7-time championship theme. Which should be cool to see that. So I'll try to pull it up and see if we can get a picture of it on social media for you guys to look at. And then coming up in our last segment of the day, we're going to talk Indy 500. The Indy 500 coming up this weekend. The most prestigious race on the IndyCar circuit typically is Memorial Day weekend, but because of the coronavirus, it's been pushed back by a couple of months. And so this weekend marks the 94th running, or I guess the 93rd running of it. So we will talk to Tom about that. Again, he's a big IndyCar guy, so we have the complete starting grid for you, as well as some of the big storylines heading into the race weekend. So the Daytona Road Course was the first race on the schedule this past weekend, or the first of 4 races on the schedule. ARCA ran on Friday night, Xfinity on Saturday, and then Trucks and Cup on Sunday. The big winner in the ARCA race was our buddy Michael Self from Venturini Motorsports. The Green Dino car is what I like to call it. But he visited Victory Lane, his second win of the year. So he has a commanding series point lead already. So that has kind of solidified his championship run. But I talked to Nick Monter, who is the PR director over at Venturini Motorsports. Also one of our part-time producers of the Motorsports Madness and Inside Pass Show. But they were really excited about the win. It was one of those races where they thought maybe they weren't going to be able to be as competitive as they normally are, because this was kind of basically a whole new racetrack for a lot of guys, especially in the ARCA series, because if you think about the ARCA series roster, a lot of those guys are young, up-and-coming drivers and don't really have a lot of experience running any kind of racetrack, much less the Daytona Road Course, and such a famed course that it is. But guys like Michael Self always thrive in that kind of environment, and he went out and won himself another trophy. So congratulations to Venturini Motorsports, Michael Self, and the guys over at TRD for a commendable job there. Saturday, the Xfinity Series ran their road course race. And of course, everybody pretty much assumed that it was going to be a Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric type of show, and that's pretty much what happened until toward the end of the race. So a couple of restarts and several drivers that, especially during that last restart, some of those drivers just didn't know which direction to turn during the course, and a couple of guys got off course. Chase Briscoe was one of those guys that found himself backwards on the racetrack, and so by the time everybody got turned back around, it was Austin Cindric that took the lead and ultimately won, and this is now another streak that he started. He won 4 races in a row before he lost a few weeks ago, and now he's back on a streak again. I think this is his second win in a row, maybe third win in a row, but he is just doing good things with the Penske Racing Team in that 22 car. And that's one of the things that he's one of the drivers that's kind of been in the rumor mill the last several weeks. I mean, the situation over at Stewart-Haas Racing, kind of a tumultuous one because Clint Boyer and Eric Almirola both in contract years. So there's a possibility that 2 of the 4 rides at Stewart-Haas are going to be available. There's no word yet on exactly, what will happen with those 2 cars. I mean, obviously, Clint Boyer has stated he would like to come back. As a matter of fact, he would like to finish his career with Stewart-Haas Racing. But, sponsorship money plays a huge role in what the team decides to do going forward. So that's one of the dominoes that still has to fall. Along with Eric Almirola. Eric Almirola also is in a contract year as well with Stewart-Haas, and no indication on whether or not he will resign. The big thing with that team is the fact that a lot of the sponsorship money and a lot of the sponsorship from that team comes from Smithfield Foods, and Smithfield Foods is a Japanese company now, no longer American owned. So a lot of those sponsorship dollars will just come from whether or not Smithfield decides to re-up with the 10 team, or whether or not they want Eric Almirola behind the wheel of that car in the future. There's 2 guys at play right now in terms of that ride. Austin Cindric, obviously, is a Penske guy, so he's not eligible for that ride. You would think he would be in a Penske ride if he's going to remain a part of that organization. But, of course, his dad is one of the higher-ups at Penske, so I don't think he's going anywhere. One would lead me to believe that if he's going to be in the Cup Series in 2021, it would be a Wood Brothers car he would be in, which would mean that Matt DiBenedetto would not have a ride. But that all remains to be seen as well. But over with the Stewart-Haas situation, you've got Kyle Larson, who a lot of people have been advocating for Tony Stewart to sign him to a ride because a lot of people believe that, and obviously, seeing what he's done on the dirt side of things, he obviously has the talent to succeed. Having won, 30-some-odd races in his last 40 starts. So, obviously doing good things. It's kind of a situation with Kyle Larson. It would be, number one, does he want to come back to the Cup Series? Does he want the burden of being able to drive those cars again? And number two, are the wounds healed now? I mean, it's been several months since he made the mistake of using a racial slur during an iRace, which ultimately ended up costing him his ride at Chip Ganassi Racing. So one would think, he's gone through the appropriate protocols of NASCAR. He's gone through the sensitivity training course. To my knowledge, he has not asked for reinstatement into NASCAR, which is the next step in that process. He would obviously have to be reinstated by the sport to be able to talk to other teams or, try to get a situation where he would be in a car for 2021. And then again, the other thing is sponsorship. He lost a lot of sponsorships due to his role and what happened in that situation. And so it's going to come down to having a sponsor out there that's willing to take a chance on him and give him a second chance. Has he learned his lesson? I absolutely believe that he has. The question, of course, is going to become, what sponsor is going to step up and say, you know what, we understand that mistakes happen. You made a mistake. We think that you have moved on from the mistake, so we're going to give you the opportunity to, get back into the NASCAR world and race competitively, which, of course, being a driver like Kyle Larson, you obviously don't want to go to a situation where you're not going to be competitive. You're obviously going to want to be in a situation where you are thinking long-term, what he's doing right now on the dirt side of things, running all the sprint car races, all of the, Circuit of Champion or Circuit of All-Stars and World of Outlaws and all the races he's been running lately and being successful and winning. It's kind of one of those, do you really want to take that chance and go back on the Cup side of things, or do you want to stay on dirt where you're being dominant and being competitive? It's just one of those things that Kyle has to decide for himself before anybody else can make those decisions. But obviously, Kyle Larson is a guy who wants to run competitively, and he wants to run for a team that will allow him to continue racing a sprint car, which if you look at the current landscape of the NASCAR world, not many teams are allowing their drivers to go out there and risk bodily injury to themselves by running races that are not necessary when you're running for a championship or when you're running for a high-dollar sponsor. Those sponsors obviously want your undivided attention. So it's going to be coming up with a contract that suits Kyle Larson's style. And obviously, when you look at that aspect of it, obviously Tony Stewart Racing and Stewart-Haas is going to be the first team that comes to mind because of Tony Stewart's background in dirt and the fact that he actually still runs some dirt races too on the side. So obviously, fitting-wise, that's probably going to be his best option. But of course, lots of things will have to happen for that to take place. So we'll see how all that goes. In the weeks to come, we'll keep you posted on everything that goes on with Kyle Larson. So getting back to the Daytona road course race from the weekend, I mentioned Austin Cindric picking up the victory on Saturday in the Xfinity Series race. Lots of other action beyond the winner of himself, A.J. Allmendinger and Justin Allgaier come to mind as they were pounding on each other's doors toward the end of the race. And so Austin Cindric picking up the win there. The Truck Series race on Sunday afternoon, Sheldon Creed ended up in victory lane on that race. And then the Cup Series race on Sunday was Chase Elliott, which, of course, everybody knew Chase was going to be competitive. And Tom has finally joined us, so he can now speak to what we're talking about with the Cup Series race on Sunday, Chase Elliott picking up the victory in a race that we all thought Chase would be competitive. He's become quite the road race master, as it seems.
Well, he certainly has. What's interesting, too, about Chase is that he actually, you would think that he would not be the guy. I mean, he grew up racing late models on ovals, but for whatever reason, he has just taken to the road courses like a duck to water over the last couple of years. And boy, he has been extremely strong. I mean, it's kind of one of those situations where even when he messes up, and when we saw him make a classic mistake at the Roval last year,
he did.
And what happens? He drives all the way back through the field and wins.
Yep.
I mean, it's really incredible what he's turned into as a road course racer.
Yep.
I mean, it's not even just that he has the best car, puts himself in the best positions. He just flat out drives people. Yep. And, I thought his performance on Sunday was phenomenal.
Yeah. Pit road strategy played into a part as well, but that didn't seem to bother him either. He just, rolled with the punches and went right on through the field and ended up in victory lane. So, great job by Chase Elliott. Helps me on Fantasy NASCAR because I picked Chase to win, but those points battles are even tight too, and we'll talk about that on Thursday on tomorrow night's Motorsports Madness show. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, the Motorsports Madness show will be tomorrow night. So we are going to step off to a quick break so I can catch my breath. And when we come back on the other side of the break, we'll talk about silly season. We'll talk about the latest paint scheme news from Darlington and a whole lot more. Hopefully Steve Arpin will join us as well. We'll be back with more of the Inside Pass right after this.
fans. This is Chris Wright. Thanks for listening to these guys. Man, what some great radio hosts. You're listening to the Inside Pass.
Welcome back to the Inside Pass here on WSIC. Randy Miller, Tom Baker is finally sitting in the Silman seat, so I don't have to ramble for the next 15 minutes. But I think it was quality.
You did a great job.
I think it was quality radio, but you have to go back
awesome.
and listen to it.
I almost didn't come into the studio. I'm like, Randy's on a roll. I can just
watch. I need somebody to talk to. Those walls just don't talk back. So. Anyway. So we were talking about the Daytona Road Course race, and so hopefully Steve Arpin is going to join us in a little bit. I'm excited to talk to him about the future of rallycross racing in North America, because this is one country where it just doesn't ever seem to take off, and I think it's thrilling stuff. And they had American America's Rallycross Americas or whatever it was a couple of years ago, which unfortunately folded because they didn't have funding. They couldn't find like a primary sponsorship for it, so it ended up folding. But Steve's been working with some guys that work with Nitro Circus, Travis Pastrana and those guys, and they've actually been doing some rallycross stuff with the Nitro Circus for the last couple of years. But they've kind of taken that whole mentality and kind of, came up with some people that were interested in taking it out of the Nitro Circus and kind of putting it back onto the mainstream United States, TVs and stuff like that. So we'll see if they're making any traction there. I also heard a rumor that he has been in contact with Ray Evernham and Tony Stewart about the SRX thing. So, maybe there's an opportunity for him there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean he is a former champion of rallycross racing, and a former X Games gold medalist. So yeah. I mean he technically does qualify. He is a champion.
And I don't know that they're necessarily.
I don't know what the criteria is, but
yeah, that's the thing. I don't really exactly know where they're going. So far, we've got a couple of IndyCar racers and a NASCAR racer.
And today, Elio Castroneves.
Oh, I didn't see that. I missed that.
Elio was announced today as part of the team.
So we got three IndyCar drivers.
Three IndyCar guys.
Of course, Elio technically now is a sports car driver, but trying to win his fifth. I'm confused.
Fourth or fifth? I think it's fourth. I believe.
I think fourth Indy 500. If he wins this year, you'd have to think that he comes back next year to go for the fifth.
You'd hope.
Elio's still got gas in the tank, man. He is still as strong and as aggressive and as passionate about what he's doing as he was, 5-10 years ago. So I'm hoping that he has a good run this year and that Penske decides to give him another chance next year to run when hopefully we'll have fans back.
Yeah. Bobby Labonte needs some love over there at SRX. He's the only NASCAR driver that, aside from Tony Stewart, obviously, that has been announced.
Interesting.
So.
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, unless you're counting Elio as a sports car racer. I mean, I don't know. So far, it seems to be an IndyCar series.
Pretty much.
It's kind of interesting.
It's like kart.
The first four drivers announced. 3 of them are outside of NASCAR, and I'm hoping that they announce. I want to see a couple short track guys. I want to see a Bubba Pollard. I want to see a Doug Coby from the modified Wheel and Modified Tour. Some folks like that.
Yeah. You want the diversity. Even if Arpin is part of that group, that would be a whole a different realm of discipline, but. I feel like you kind of need all the disciplines. If you're going to have an IROC series, you should probably have all of the the champions of their respective series in there.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's talk about silly season, because it's kind of seemed to be one of those things where every week there's another rumor that gets started by somebody somewhere in the internet world, and it kind of takes off and becomes its own little troll, I guess. It kind of sits there until somebody debunks the rumors. But there's a lot of things going on, I guess, behind the scenes. That the average fan doesn't ever know about, because it doesn't ever get talked about until the one domino starts falling, and then everything seems to fall into place. But a couple of the rumors around RCR and their Xfinity Series team, because this year they kind of went a different route. They don't have a full-time driver.
Right.
The 2 car isn't even being ran right now, which was the car that Tyler Reddick won the championship with last year. But the 21 car has become this phenomenal car. No matter who's in the car, every week it seems to be whoever's in the car is running in the top 10 and contending for the win, between Anthony Alfredo and Kaz Grala and Myatt Snyder. All 3 of those guys have been competitive in their respective races they ran in that car. But a rumor that's kind of been spreading is that RCR wants to make that car a full-time ride in 2021 and no longer have the merry-go-round of drivers, or the carousel of drivers, if you will. And so now I guess all eyes are on, well, which one of the three drivers is going to get the ride? Because, I mean, if you think, all three drivers are incredible drivers. They all bring something to the table. And I think, especially after Sunday and seeing the performance that Casgralla put on, I don't really know if, Anthony Alfredo obviously is his competition. He's finished in the top 10 on every start he's had. But Myatt Snyder he has other options. I guess it just depends on which one of the two guys, either Alfredo or Casgralla's main sponsor, is going to step up and take the reins and say, we'll sponsor that car full time if my guy's in the ride.
I don't think any of the three come up with one full-time sponsor. I think it's a rotation among sponsors. I know that Anthony is there's a lot of activity in Anthony's camp with regard to that and some things that are trying to go forward. And I know Kaz has the same kind of situation. There's a lot of activity and a lot of push to make some things happen. Not sure about Myatt, but again, Myatt has, like you said, he has some other options. My guess would be you would see either Anthony or Kaz in that car, and probably a second car come back into the fold, because they're not going to let either of those guys go. Now, maybe one of them gets something somewhere else, but I will tell you this. They love Anthony Alfredo over there, and they're starting to really love Casgralla.
I can see why. I mean, if it's one of those things, it's like, whatever. All right, we're going to go to the StartMasters.com hotline and bring in our guest for the day. I'm excited to talk to him. It's been 3 years this week since he's been on the show. It's incredible. I actually looked it up because I was curious. The last time he was on our show, it was the August 26, 2017, when he was last on our show. So
goodness gracious,
it's been a long time. But he's been out doing.
Any gray hair back then?
I had a little bit, but I had kids. So we it's been a while since he's been on, but he's been doing great things, and hopefully he has some news to pass along. I hope that we can bring some more information about this, Rallycross in North America type thing, because I'm really looking forward to it being back, because it's one of the most exciting disciplines, I think, in racing. But NASCAR fans probably recognize him as a former driver in the ARCA series. He drove for Venturini Motorsports. He drove for Turner Motorsports. Did some junior motorsports racing in the Xfinity series, which I think was nationwide then. But Steve Arpin is on the Inside Pass. Buddy, it's been a long time, but thanks for taking some time out to join us today.
Well, hey, I am so sorry for being a few minutes late. We've been working on all these announcements that you're talking about to hopefully get things out here soon. And I tell you what, everything that's coming together is sure getting exciting.
If you knew what happened behind the scenes today, you wouldn't even be worried about being late.
That's the recurring theme of this show today, is being a few minutes late. Traffic is really ugly out there.
Our show almost started 5 minutes late because both hosts were not in the building. Yeah. So I will just say the trend continues and continues. But so as I mentioned, it's been like 3 years since you've been on the program, but you've done a lot of things since that time frame. You drove for Chip Ganassi back in 2018. And then drove for your current team, Lowenbro, in 2019, which was then America's Rallycross Series, which unfortunately kind of folded before it even got off the ground. But I know that you have been working hard on trying to turn that around and trying to do new things with the Rallycross in America, because it's a really cool discipline, and I if anybody's watched the X Games, ESPN does them, every couple of years, but they usually have Rallycross on that, and I know that for a while, the World Rallycross was doing some races in America too that you guys were part of, but some big things I think happening with the Rallycross, in North America. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that for us.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny because at the time, whenever something goes wrong, you think it's the worst thing in the world, right?
Yep.
And seeing GRC go away, we were absolutely mortified. And then ARX came along, and IMG was promoting that. And at the time, we thought it could have been potentially the best thing in the world. And when we say it's just a shame that kind of went away before it even got off the ground, ultimately, that's possibly one of the best things that ever happened to us with the way things are shaping up now. And obviously, we all know the last 2 years we've had kind of a one-off marquee event with Nitro World Games, and they brought Rallycross into the mix and everything they do, and Travis Pastrana and what he's built over there at Nitro Circus. And nothing's finalized yet. It's not official, but I think it's pretty safe to say that we are investing big time over here at Lowenbro Motorsports and confident what the future of Rallycross has in store. And the effort, if like 2020 has been a crazy year, right? It's been absolutely insane.
It's an understatement.
But if you want to find the silver lining, like there's always a silver lining in something. And the coolest part is it's given all of these guys at Nitro, like it's no secret, the cat's kind of out of the bag that stuff's happening behind the scenes. It's coming together. So I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for saying too much here. But this coronavirus thing has given us given all the guys at Nitro an opportunity to sit back and really kind of dot all the I's and cross all the T's and kind of take all of the best components of what was Rallycross in the past and combine that with everything they've learned on the extreme sports side of things and what they've done globally all over the world with Nitro Circus. And then on top of that, kind of mix in the crazy brainchild thing that Travis Pastrana comes up with that makes everything just that bigger, better, more fun, crazy, intense thing. And we are shaping up to have one of the most exciting sports. Honestly, something that could ultimately turn into a staple in the motorsports industry in the United States. So it's pretty exciting, and there's stuff that it's literally just around the corner when all the details are buttoned up and we're allowed to talk about it more, and all the tracks that are being built all over the country, heck, possibly all over the world, the way things are looking. So it's pretty exciting.
That seems really, really cool. I'm excited about Rallycross. It's one of the disciplines, and I think there's a fan base in North America for that type of thing. It's hard to get traction on it because when you think about North American motorsports, you think IndyCar, you think NASCAR, you think dirts and sprint cars, but it's hard to really get people to kind of tune in and be like, look, rally racing is fun and exciting. You just have to have that platform to show it off to the world and show it off to the racing fans in the United States.
Well, and I think honestly that's what we've been missing over the years is exactly that. It's we've got this exciting story to tell. We've got this product that's a lot of fun. It's good quality, intense racing, and then we're going to take what was already exciting and we're going to add the flair to it that Travis Pastrana and Nitro Circus bring, and taking what these cars are capable of and what all these drivers are capable of, and putting so much time and effort into making sure we can take things and push it to that next level in a safe way. And that's Pastrana's. That's what he's built his whole. He's built an empire off pushing things to the next level, but doing it safely because we have to. It's expensive equipment. It's really good equipment that we can't be tearing up. And with the extremes that we're pushing these things, it's really easy to hurt drivers as well. So they're taking all that into consideration. So when you take that, you look at the story that you have to tell. The thing that we've been missing in the past is the ability to reach people and reach those eyeballs and tell that story. So now we're adding to the story, but we're also coupling that with the ability to reach millions of fans all over the world through the Nitro Circus platform, and that coupled with Travis Pastrana and Ken Block and all these big names that are coming back into it, and the potential of new technology coming into the sport as well. There's a lot of upside to it, and we're struggling to see much downside at all.
It's interesting how timing enters into all of this, because I kind of feel like this is the perfect time. A lot of race fans are disenchanted with NASCAR for a variety of reasons. They're not necessarily huge fans of IndyCar. They're kind of into the whole road course sort of alternative extreme form, of racing, and they like a lot of high energy and a lot of excitement, and it feels like this is the perfect time for Rallycross to step up and fill that sort of need or desire among the fans to see something that sort of feels just like good old-fashioned exciting racing again, instead of whatever they think NASCAR has turned into. And I'm certainly not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just saying that it feels like, just as an observer, this is the perfect time for something like this to emerge.
You're 100% right. The opportunity is now to come out with something that, if you look around, and you're right, not agreeing or disagreeing, but one of the things that's reality is you look around and we're all looking at our phones. We've got a computer in our pocket at all times. We're all looking at our phones. There's new ways of consuming entertainment. There's with so much entertainment to be had, our attention spans for each individual thing are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So being able to take this intense action and being to deliver it in short bursts of excitement, and then having the ability to do that and having the network and the platform to do that, reaching so many eyeballs that can go straight to your phone and stream straight to your phone with people that know how to do it and know how to produce that in a way that it connects and people can relate to it. Like the opportunity it's literally, it could be the next big thing.
That's and I know when GRX and the Global Rallycross was around, I know some of the NASCAR guys like Kurt Busch had tested a car at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the dirt track a couple of times. So there's obviously interest from the NASCAR side of things for Rallycross and just doing different things than being behind the wheel of a NASCAR. Every single week for 9-10 months out of the year. So, Steve, hang on the line for a minute. I got 2 rumors that I heard about you that I want to get your clarification on. And then we'll let you go. We'll be back in just a second. We'll be back with more of the Inside Pass. Steve Arpin's on the line. We'll be back in just a minute.
I'm Chase Elliott, and you're listening to the Inside Pass.
There's our winner from Daytona, Chase Elliott, bringing us back from commercial break on the strutmasters.com hotline. We've got Steve Arpin with us, former NASCAR driver turned Rallycross Superstar, X Games Olympian, you name it, and his resume includes just about everything racing related over the course of his career. So I've heard 2 rumors about you. They're good ones, I promise, not anything bad. But I just wanted to get
disappointed now.
Right? I wanted to get. Well, I made you think about it for a minute because it's just like a politician. What kind of
we
dirt
were
are you going to
on
dig up
TMZ
on
here.
me?
That's no fun.
Steve's been on our show 100 times, so he knows that we have the tendency to do that. But so the first rumor I heard is involving the SRX series that Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham have created. I heard that your name has been put into the list of possible drivers of one of those cars during one of those driver announcement things that's coming up. And I've seen some of the drivers that they have announced, and I don't see a Canadian on the list, so I'm going to assume that you are at the top of the list as far as Canadians go in that series. So what's the rumor regarding that?
Well, I'll tell you what. First and foremost, I think it's the coolest thing in the world what Ray and Tony are doing, and just two icons of motorsports in general, and for them to be collaborating their efforts and building up this series, I think is just the coolest thing in the world. They've contributed so much to the sport throughout their career, and to see them keep on doing this is pretty awesome. And as far as me being added to the name list of drivers, like, first and foremost, that'd be an absolute honor. Ray Ray is one of the guys that definitely helped me get my start down here in North Carolina. Actually, it was kind of a crazy story. Carl Edwards just randomly called me and told me to get in his truck and drive down to Richmond to race his Silver Crown car. And at that point, I didn't even have a Hans, and Ray Evernham took me over to the Simpson World here in North Carolina and bought me my first Hans years ago. So he really helped me get going down here and gave me my first opportunity to test and everything, and we've kept in touch over the years, and we've definitely had conversations, and there's nothing official yet, but if I had the opportunity to have my name on a list of drivers racing first of all in a series with Ray Evernham and Tony Stewart, and second of all, just to be among so many other incredibly accomplished drivers that are already on that list, that would be something I would tell my grandkids about someday.
Okay, so add your name to the list. You're going to be announced in a few weeks, because that sounds like an unofficial announcement. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. So then the other rumor I heard, I know that you guys you were at the Best in the Desert over the weekend, the big what is it, Reno to Vegas or Vegas to Reno, whichever direction you want to travel. But our buddy Justin Lofton is part of that. Unfortunately, he didn't have a very good day. He had a DNF in his trick truck, but. It's a fascinating race, and it's always cool to see. Lofton always checks in with me and lets me know how he did. That's just how I know he did do very good. But I know you were there during that event, and so I know you got some media stuff, some social media stuff coming up in terms of videos and stuff like that. But what exactly were you doing in the middle of the desert in the summer? Because it was like 130 in Death Valley the other day, so way too hot to be there just to hang out.
Call it Death Valley.
Yeah.
Well, first off, it's 2020, right? So regardless what the temperature is, if we have an opportunity to go race something, I don't care how hot it is. I am jumping in it. But no, my buddy Jim Beaver called me up and asked me if I'd come out there and be a part of that thing with him. To be totally fair, it's something since this all hit and our 2020 Rallycross season got pushed to the side. We've been really looking how to diversify, and we've actually got a Can-Am on our chassis plate right now. And we're building out a Can-Am to go racing. So we're going to try and get into that.
Awesome.
Going to be looking at building high-performance kits for Can-Ams to really take these machines and then take them up a level, take them to the next level, and provide people with a competitive way to go racing at a cost-effective level. So when the opportunity came up to go and experience it, absolutely, I jumped right into it. And I tell you what, I had so much dang fun. And you want to talk about like Justin Lofton, I wish we got to run into him there. But I came through a corner, it was at night at this point, and I just piled through. I think it was his left rear quarter panel that was laying in the middle of one of the turns, and I ran that thing over pretty aggressively. So
that's funny. He's going to be on the show in a few weeks. So I'm gonna get into I'll give him your address. Like, if you want your quarter panel back, I know where to get it. So
I could tell you exactly where to get it. But yeah, no, it was so much fun. Had the absolute time of my life. They had some mechanical problems in the first stint, so by the time I got in, I think we were about 2.5 hours behind.
Yeah.
But just to have the opportunity to learn and experience that without all the pressure being right in the middle of it was kind of nice too. So, but I can tell you one thing: after doing that, I promise you, without a question of a doubt, we will be back, and we are going to go do it bigger and better next time.
I know there's one coming up in September. I can't remember what the name of it is, but maybe that's something that's I don't even remember what the name of the race is now. But Lofton was telling me the other day. But are you looking to maybe go and do that race in September?
Well, maybe I'll post a picture of the state of our car right now, our Can-Am. I would say September might be a long shot before this thing's ready to go. So we got this thing tore right apart, and we're going to go all out on it. We're gonna build out a pretty awesome kit. And honestly, like we're like I said, we're hoping to get this new series off the ground, and maybe if we do that, there's a good place for UTVs in that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, technically, all you really need is just a seat, a chassis, and a motor and tires, and I think you're okay. I mean, as long as you can strap yourself in. Fenders don't really mean anything. I mean, you're going to be out in the middle of the desert anyway, so who's really going to see it? But anyway, Steve, go ahead.
I'll tell you what, I have typically as a race car driver, you don't feel bad, and you just want to push things as hard as you possibly can. But I have never abused a piece of equipment. Like the rocks out there and everything, the abuse you put these things through is absolutely remarkable. Like it absolutely blew my mind. So So we have to build it up pretty strong, and I think one of the biggest challenges of those things is just endurance, being able to make it to the end.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, best of luck with that. Best of luck with the Rallycross situation. As soon as all this stuff becomes official, and Tony Stewart announces you as a driver for SRX, you got to come back on and tell us that we told you that you told us so. But I know you guys are doing great things, and I'm gonna have to come and I know your shop is just down there in Mooresville, so I'm gonna have to come in and check out the shop one of these days.
Absolutely. Come on out. Come check us out.
All right, I'll reach out to you, Steve. Be good, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Appreciate you guys having me.
No
Take
problem.
care.
All right, Steve Arpin, everyone.
Rocks in the middle of the desert. Who knew?
Right. Who
It
knew?
sort of blows that old America song out of the water, doesn't it? I go riding through the desert on a horse with no name. Horse steps on a rock. It's out of there.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Or it sees a snake.
It's going to hurt itself.
That's the end of that. But great things happening over there. I love the enthusiasm behind Rallycross, and I hope that they get it off the ground, because I think that's a discipline that we need here in the United States to kind of take some of the normalcy away from ovals and road courses all the time. So
it's different.
It is different. Well,
different.
Robbie Gordon
diversity.
had the stadium, stadium truck series
Stadium
for a while,
super
but now
trucks.
they're not even doing stadiums. They're doing infields of oval tracks and stuff. Like, it's not even a true, stadium off-road.
Yeah.
I grew up in the days of Mickey Thompson off-road, so that was my...
I remember that.
Yes, that was my go-to thing, for off-road racing, is to see, the football stadiums turn into, giant off-road courses and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's obviously cool to see. So we got a couple minutes before we take a commercial break. Wanted to talk about... We'll get to silly season again in a minute, but I want to talk about some of the paint schemes that have been announced for Darlington, because there's some really cool paint schemes that I've seen come across the wire lately. But so Austin Dillon is going to have a Junior Johnson themed throwback, a white car with the old number 3 on it, and I think Jimmy Junior's face is on it as well. Kevin Harvick will have a throwback to his old to the old Busch Series days, the old Busch Series scheme and things like that they had back when there was a NASCAR Busch Series. Ryan Newman will run a 1999 USAC Championship scheme from when he won the USAC Championship back in 1999, kind of an orange and white car. Tyler Reddick will pay homage to Jeff Burton with a Rebestis brake scheme, which is really cool, the blue with the rainbow color. That's really cool. Ryan Blaney will have a Menard's blue in honor of Paul Menard. Clint Boyer will have a Kyle Petty Peak antifreeze car, which is also really cool.
Yep.
Matt DiBenedetto has Tiny Lund and Marvin Ponch on his car, kind of paying homage to past champions. Joey Logano will have a Bobby Allison-inspired number 22 that's red and white with the Pennzoil colors on it. Michael Annett will pay homage to his owner, Dale Jr., with an Oreo cookie paint scheme, the number 1. I think Junior ran that.
He did. It was one of the 3 cars that Junior ran.
3 cars. Yeah, back when he was a part-time driver.
Yep.
Daniel Hemrick will run a purple John Andretti tribute paint scheme. And Jeremy Clements is probably the coolest one I've seen yet. Tribute to South Carolina racers Buck Baker, David Pearson, Kel Yarborough, Sam Martin, and Larry Pearson, all on the car. Kind of a tribute to South Carolina's champions. Of course, Jeremy Clements' team is based in South Carolina, so that's really cool. And then Jimmy Johnson has one. I haven't seen it yet, though. But it's a Honor 7-time championship paint scheme, which honors Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt.
I saw it this morning. That instantly became my favorite. It is absolutely way cool and so fitting for his final year of full-time competition to go out with that scheme. There's Petty blue on the hood. There's Earnhardt black, Goodrich black on the sides, and it's a really, really cool car.
I'm going to have to tell to pull up while we're on the commercial break. So we're going to take a break. We'll have an Indy 500 preview, and we'll try to get to the rest of silly season news when we come back. You're watching the Inside Pass live on Facebook Live. We'll be back with more right after this.
This is Justin Lofton, and you're listening to the best guys on the radio, the Inside Pass.
Welcome back to the Inside Pass here on WSIC. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thank you so much for tuning in on Facebook Live.
We appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. If you want to catch the show in its entirety on the radio, all you have to do is tune on to WSIC Saturday mornings at, was it 9
o'clock?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, I never
9 a.m.
remember.
Eastern.
We're on right before Lenny Baticki's PRN at the tracks.
Yes, and if you're not local to the Charlotte area, that's okay. WSICFM.com.
A whole hour and a half of
9 a.m.
motorsports
Eastern,
talk.
Saturday morning. Yeah, it's the 90-minute horsepower hour.
And a half.
90-minute horsepower hour.
That's true. All right, so during the commercial break, I looked up the paint scheme that Jimmy Johnson will run. That's a pretty car. That's a pretty car. So
yeah,
it's Richard Petty blue and red, and the down like the what is it, like a skunk streak kind of from the hood to the back.
Yeah,
and then Earnhardt black on both sides. That's a really cool car.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Wow, that trumps everything.
I saw it this morning. It was amazing.
So I want to get to Indy 500 because it's coming up this weekend. But before we do, I wanted to wrap up what we were talking about with silly season before Steve Arpin was on the phone. We talked about RCR and their Xfinity program and kind of the uncertainty about what happens with the guys on that team. There's also this little rumor going around that Denny Hamlin is looking to buy a NASCAR team, which was one of the reasons why he was on a boat with Hendrick and Gordon, just kind of getting pointers about how to own a team, I guess. But rumors have him possibly buying majority stake in RPM Motorsports, which would then give Toyota that 16 that they need on the Toyota side, and give Denny Hamlin some ownership in the NASCAR world. And kind of a fun fact, the age that he is right now is the exact same age that both Tony Stewart was when he decided to bail and go join his own team. And there's another driver turned owner that left about the same time, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. But
well,
nonetheless,
here's the interesting thing about this. So we've got this team that's over there at RCR, Richard Petty Motorsports, and you got Bubba Wallace. Okay, now Bubba Wallace obviously has become a bigger voice and a bigger brand, and a lot of things have been going on, good, bad, and different this year. It's been Denny Hamlin has a strong tie to Michael Jordan. And so the Jordan brand, again, nothing has been said about Michael Jordan being involved in this, but I'm just saying that Denny has a brand outside of just being Denny Hamlin,
right,
that he's, really pushing and all of that he's heavily involved with. So if he decides to do this, and there does seem to be at least some smoke here, if not some fire, this doesn't seem to be something that's just kind of,
it's not a left field rumor,
cookie
like a lot
rumor
of them are.
that nothing. Yeah. There seems to be at least some sort of smoke around this. Somebody wants it to happen. Whether Denny wants it to happen as bad as other people do, I don't know, but we'll find out. But the rumor is it becomes a two-car team.
Mm-hmm.
So the 95 has been sold, and that's going away from Toyota. So we bring in this new team, whatever it would be called, probably still Richard Petty, but of course you get, Denny might, Petty Hamlin Motorsports, who knows. But you bring it to Toyota, you add a team by doing that, because I get two cars that replace the one that's been sold. Okay, you got Bubba Wallace that you bring back into a stable where he was at one time with Joe Gibbs, so he's back in that sort of family. And, what possibilities are there for Bubba with the Jordan brand?
Right.
And then there's a lot of talk about, who ends up in the other car. I've heard Kyle Larson's name mentioned. I'm not sure of that. Again, lots of rumors, but Toyota does need more affiliates because they are the most aggressive driver development team on the planet. And as we've talked about before, eventually, we're going to run out of cars for these young drivers coming up through Trucks and Xfinity to get into, because once you put young drivers in all the main seats, unless they aren't performing well, they're not going anywhere for a while. So it becomes a wait. It's almost, like take a number and wait till one of them decides to move to another car or retire. So it's this. I think you're going to see more of this type of idea here. The big teams or the manufacturers, now they got to dip down.
Mm-hmm.
There's no elite teams available for them. So Richard Petty Motorsports, like a JTG Doherty, a front row, I mean, I think they're going to get more prominence here, and more of these manufacturers are going to look at these teams now as let's elevate them and use that for our kind of our rookie or AAA kind of drivers that we're developing.
If Toyota's backing the team, I mean, there's going to be money there because Toyota's going to want, obviously, development, talent.
This would be kind of a Michael Waltrip racing scenario, I feel like, if it happens.
Right.
Who knows?
And
but it's interesting. I mean, you'd think Kyle Busch, but Kyle doesn't seem to want to. So, if Denny wants to, then there's no reason why he shouldn't. I mean, and then you say, well, does Denny go and drive for his own team? Heck no. He's not leaving Joe Gibbs.
Right.
I mean, why would you give up the car that you're winning 5-6 races a year with and running for the championship to go drive for your own team? I see this very much as Dale Earnhardt. He ran for Richard Childress, but on his own team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I think
absolutely.
that's what this becomes, if it becomes anything.
Right. So we got about a minute left. I wanted to quickly get your thoughts on the Indy 500 pole sitter Marco Andretti. We will talk more about the Indy 500 tomorrow on Madness.
Yes, we've got Joel Sebastianelli tomorrow night. We're going to do a whole bunch of Indy 500 stuff. But yes, Marco's amazing. I really want him to win a 500. I mean, his dad never did. I'd like to see him get one, and I think he's got his best shot, obviously, on Sunday.
Okay. There you go. So, as he said, Joel Sebastianelli will be on tomorrow on Motorsports Madness. Next week on our show, we have Nick DeGroot because it's the end of the month and ratings don't matter. So we will see you guys next week on the Inside Pass. He's going to kill me for that. Our thanks to Steve Arpin for... No, he won't. Our thanks to Steve Arpin for joining us today. We'll keep up with the latest news on all of the social media platforms. We'll see you guys tomorrow night on Madness, next week on the Inside Pass. Be safe, everyone.